What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Joined again for episode 6. Feels like we've been doing this a minute. We're on episode 6 now, man.
Yeah, been
Um,
flying.
I know, dude. I'm loving it, man. Joined by SW, my co-host. You can find him on Twitter at SnowMed34. Um, Me, obviously, Jordan B videos for a 0 in videos instead of an O. Yeah, man. How are you doing today, bro?
I'm doing good. We got a nice chill Monday recording.
Yeah, dude, this is like I think this is the earliest we've ever talked in my life. It's 10:53, so I'm used to talking to you after like 4 p.m. while the sun's going
Oh
down.
yeah.
This is a nice little change. But yeah, if you're watching this, if you can't tell by the thumbnail, I think we should only need to cover one topic today. It's going to branch
I mean
off
that's all
into
really anybody's been talking about either.
yeah, we got the Shiloh Hendrix topic. So I think it's going to go in enough directions to where there should be no shortage of content from it. So, yeah, if people don't, well, I'll let you introduce it. Do you want to just break down who Shiloh
I see
Hendrix is
that's the
for?
thing. I've like always, I just kind of go off the discourse and I don't even think I've fully watched the video, but like that's why I was gonna ask you like if I had the story right. So basically it's kind of like it's like Rochester, Minnesota. So it's not Twin Cities. It's like a secondary Minnesota city, like kind of southern Minnesota. And of course, there's Somalis there too.
Of course.
And yeah, so like she said, she found a kid. One of the kids was going through her bag or something.
Yeah, we can start off just by watching the video if you want. I didn't know you hadn't seen it. We can just jump into it and watch the video. Um, yeah, what's funny about the video is that so I remember when I first saw the story and even before I had learned too much info about it, I just assumed that she was in Minnesota, which is a crazy pull because you have the dead trees in the background. It looks like they just got done with winter. It's overcast. And what really gave it away for me was the Somali guy behind the camera. If you've met,
Anytime I see anything with Somalis now, I just
I
assume
just,
it's Minnesota.
dude, isn't that crazy, man? Whoever put them there must really hate Scandinavians because, like, like, there's something unique to Somalis. There's something unique to Minnesota about like Somalis. It's like a magnet. It's drawing
Well, and
them.
they've kind of leaked down into where I'm at in southeastern Wisconsin,
Mm.
where it's not like a lot, but there's still some. And it's funny, even talking with FBA Foundational Black Americans
Oh, they
on
can't
North
stand
Side
them.
Milwaukee. It's
Can't
like
stand them.
they don't like him either, and it's just one of those things where I've talked about this before. How like I've never had a good reaction or a good interaction with a single one of them. Actually, I'm like kind of tolerable, but they're very arrogant. They're very short, like with how
Yeah,
they talk. Like you
right.
can't have
Like,
a conversation with them, and
mhm.
I don't know. They just have that weird inbred look to them.
Yeah, oh my gosh, we're gonna go so many different directions in this convo. But yeah, dude,
Dr. Jazz Pants had a great one. Shout out to that mutual. But he said they have the friendly disposition of Arabs and the IQ of Africans.
dude, yeah, like they have the worst of all worlds. And like in Dallas, I don't think we have a huge number of Somalis, honestly, so I haven't really interacted with them the way that people in the upper Midwest have. We have more I think we have more Nigerians and Kenyans here, so we have kind of the more friendly Africans. But yeah, dude, like there's just something about them, man. And even before I knew for certain that this video was in Minnesota, I guessed that it was in Minnesota by the accent of the guy doing the recording. So, yeah, we can just watch it really quick. It's only 50 seconds.
You call him a nigger, the child?
The fuck you talking
Did you
about?
call the child the nigger word?
None of your fucking business.
It is my own business. You call him.
Did you call the child? I don't want to say it because I don't want to get,
YouTube's gonna be strict on that.
yeah, they're going to be really strict. It's not the video. I think we'll get some leeway with because it's the video. But for the record, it's not an apprehension to saying the word. It's that I don't want to get banned. Um, he said, "Did you call the child the nigga word?" Like their English is so choppy. It's so funny. And he has another one later where he said, "You know that is a hate speech." It's like
Oh, jeez.
these people.
Wrong country, buddy.
Yeah, dude. Let's okay. Let's just try to get through it. Anyway, here we go.
You call him a nigger, the child?
The fuck you talking
Did you
about?
call the child the nigger word?
None of your fucking business.
It is my own business. You call him a nigger? Okay, why don't you have the balls to say it right now again?
Fuck you, nigger.
Okay.
Nigger.
All right, that's what you say.
You don't go digging through people's shit, you dumb fuck.
Nobody dig into your shit.
Yeah, they did.
Little fucking kid just did, you dumbass.
That little kid, you call him a nigger?
Yeah.
The little child?
What if he acts like one, he's gonna.
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the right to call the child, 5-year-old, a nigger, the N-word.
If that's what he's gonna act
That's
like.
what you're gonna call him.
That's what he's gonna act like.
You know, that's a hate speech. And you can be recorded for that.
I don't give a shit.
Huh.
Fuck off.
Okay, we'll see about that, what the internet has to say about you. You call him a nigger?
Look at the power he thinks he holds.
I know. So, okay. First, let's do this. Let's talk about Shiloh Hendrix first. So, what I found out about her is that she's a Ukrainian immigrant. I don't know if she's like from the most recent Ukraine war, but she's a Ukrainian immigrant. And what's funny here is that we're almost getting proxies.
Diaspora wars.
Yeah, exactly. We're getting proxies of, not to say she's not white and he's not black, but what we're getting is she's like a Ukrainian white and he's like a Somali black.
Yeah,
So
it's not like it's a corny, or not, I shouldn't say corny, just like a normal white Minnesotan versus
Yeah, it's not
FBA.
Bob Johnson versus Leroy Jenkins. You know what I mean? We're
Yep.
getting like these weird proxy battles. But through that, you're getting people who aren't as attached to the lore of racism as a foundational American would be. So she can say the N-word without too much moral baggage because she's not from here. She didn't go through months of slavery class in fourth grade. He doesn't even know how to say hate speech correctly in a sentence because he just got off the plane a couple years ago and doesn't know to say
It's interesting how they immediately adapt to holding that word in such esteem, whereas like you would think that word has nothing to do with
It has nothing to do with
Africans.
them. Do you think he's ever heard that word? And like before living here, do you think he's ever heard that in Somalia?
No,
Exactly.
absolutely not. And that's why I wonder with like, over in Europe and stuff, I don't know if they have a different word in different words in different languages, or if they have that word, or if the British use that word, or it kind of takes the same meaning, but it's kind of a uniquely American thing where
That's what I was going to say.
we run the world culturally.
Yeah. Like even our slurs are more powerful than yours. You know what I mean? Like there is something uniquely American about the word and the context. It's just, it feels so contrived when other cultures act concerned about it. Even a Somali, it's like, what connection do you even have to that word? And you're right, it's like they learn this outraged behavior. It's like they learn that before they learn to speak English. They learn that
Yeah.
being offended is very valuable. It's
Well,
incredibly valuable.
what do I get to be offended about, and am I going to monetize that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it sounds kind of like a boomer talking point. What we're saying is like all they know is how to be offended, but it is true. Like the first thing they learn when they get off the boat is if somebody says these syllables, you have moral power over them. And the other thing that you heard him say in the video is he said, "Let's see what the internet thinks about this." He
Oh,
already knows how to play the game, man. He already knows how the game's supposed to work and that he's supposed to be considered like a hero by
because
posting this video.
there was another dude who posted a video, and he was in Minnesota. He was a Hmong out of, so like similar to how we just joked about how if you see a Somalian, you assume it's Minnesota.
Mhm.
If I see an Asian in Minnesota, I'm almost certain it's a Hmong.
Oh,
From like
yeah,
Gran
yeah, yeah.
Torino, HMONG.
Yeah, HM. Yeah. It took me a second.
So like,
HMONG. Yeah.
and that's something we have in Wisconsin, Minnesota. We get a lot. There's a lot of Hmongs who came here after Vietnam War for various reasons, and they settle in predominantly black neighborhoods.
Mhm.
So they all kind of carry themselves. They love basketball. They love rap music. They drive.
Yeah.
They put subs in their cars. Like
It's just like in Gran
they,
Torino.
yeah, it's exactly like in Gran Torino, and it's one of those things where, can you still hear me?
Oh yeah, you're good.
Okay, sorry, I had a call coming on my phone and I wasn't sure if
No,
that
you're
cut the
good.
sound. But
Nah,
yeah, so it's funny enough, this Hmong dude was driving past her building because they doxed her location, obviously. And he was like, "We're looking for you." And I'm just thinking, why would a Hmong be so offended by the word?
right, right.
Like, what is it?
It's
It's
it's so
dumb to say FBAs are the only ones who can be offended, but it's like also a kernel of truth to it.
yeah. I hate giving the FBAs any credit. And when we say FBAs, just in case anybody doesn't know, that's the term Foundational Black Americans. It's a term kind of coined by Tariq Nasheed to draw a distinction between, and I think it's actually a fair
I think it's an
distinction.
important term in
It
what we're
is
talking
actually
about
a
today
fair,
because it separates between Somalis and FBAs.
yeah. It's just, I think that we can probably put a bookmark in this part of the convo, but what we're basically saying is that before these people learn English, before they learn George Washington was our first president, the culture that we're exporting is be offended and not even fall in line, manipulate racism for your own gain. They learned that before they learned the first five
I just wonder,
presidents.
like, how fast do they learn it? Is it something they learn when they get here? Like you said, do they know it beforehand? Does somebody tell them?
Yeah,
It's
I wonder
because
what's
it
the
really does feel bizarre. Like, that word is an exclusively American thing that shouldn't really have
yeah. Yeah,
any meaning
like
outside of the US.
what's the mechanism by which they learned this? Were they told this by their handler, the person who moved them there? Did they get red pilled on race when they saw the George Floyd riots? Like, I wonder what the thing was that taught them, oh, this is the currency they deal in, offendedness, basically. That's very interesting. It's our main export is like DEI and how much money can you
Well,
like
I've
wring
always
from
talked
white
about,
people?
well, it's how schools have been changed, where, and I've taught so I have a degree in history, and
Oh,
I'm the
okay.
first one to admit it's a totally useless degree that only boils down into remembering things, writing them down, and giving some bland analysis to them. It's
Hmm.
an easy degree, but I'm not going to pretend it's hard. But the people who want to pretend it's hard, because I've said racism is easier to study, or quote unquote, air quotes, racism is easier to study than physics.
Right.
So
Right.
therefore, it becomes this thing that people study to think they're smart, and that's how I think it's taken on a life of its own with a lot of left-wing opinions and stuff.
Yeah,
That
it's like
people spend way too much time studying quote unquote racism, and they think they're smart for doing it, but they're just regurgitating random shit they read in a book.
yeah, I mean, it's the Ta-Nehisi Coates effect where you have a 110 IQ black person who studies African American studies at a state school and thinks that they've invented the wheel, basically. Like there's nothing advanced about studying the history of racism or something. It's really just it's a masturbatory practice, actually. It's like
That's exactly
it's a
what it is.
self-indulgent thing, actually. You're not learning
Like
anything.
any right-wing Twitter poster could ace humanities. All they'd have
That's
to
so
do
funny
is
to say that.
play the part.
Right,
They
right.
and it becomes fun where you're almost like I took a bunch of classes that were just like I took two sections of Holocaust film because the professor was really easy A professor. She
Hmm.
was nice, but like that you almost write in a parody way where it becomes fun where you're like parodying stuff you see and
Hmm.
then you end up getting an A and you're like, oh geez, all it is just regurgitating the nonsense they say, and then if you write it, they believe it, and they go from there.
Yeah, you're making me want to go back to school, man. Maybe I could boost my income if I just play the part for a couple of years. But no,
It
yeah, I
gets
totally
tiring
agree.
though.
I could imagine, man. Um, let's go to this. So we have that. Um, oh, okay, let's go to this part. Let's go to the actual kid. The kid, the youth, the youth,
The youth.
the innocent 5-year-old who was he didn't do nothing, man. Hold on. There's a very interest. So she points. This is the screenshot. Nobody, okay, now rightfully so. I'm not trying to dox the kid, even
Wait,
though
so does the kid have any relation to the Somali who's posting the video?
not at all. That's a great point. That's not it.
And then that
There's
goes
no
to what was
relation.
he doing on the playground?
Exactly. So first we have what this guy, and he doesn't know the kid. So when he says, you would call some 5-year-old the N-word, one, he doesn't know who the kid is. So this kid easily looks just by this. I mean, I think you and I are pretty good at physiognomy tells and like just
But
judging a book
he's
by its
probably
cover.
like a 7 or 8 year old, kid.
Exactly. He's beyond the age of reason, is what I'm trying to get at. He is probably 7 to 9. He looks taller, and he's going through the mom's stuff. Like the mom did not wake up as a Klans member and decide to just antagonize a Somali kid on the playground. The kid was clearly doing something. Now, do I think that that's a justification to like kill the child or something? No. But what I'm saying is that this started for a reason. And yeah, this kid is older, and I think he got caught stealing, basically. I think that's what's
And it's
going on
not
here.
even like that steep of an accusation because, I mean, honestly, it doesn't look like she lives in the nicest neighborhood.
She doesn't look
And
like the nicest person, if we're being total.
exactly,
We
so
can get
like
into her in a second. Yeah,
it's all kind of it's a typical kind of lower income neighborhood,
right.
and it's not out of the realm of possibility the kid was stealing stuff.
Exactly. Exactly. And I mean, you probably know this also. Somalis are notorious scammers.
Oh yeah.
They run these crime rings, man. Like I don't want to pull it up. It's a whole, I'd have to find it, but somebody was basically going into the fact that when they were in LA, there would be these Africans who he would see repeatedly holding a box of candy with a couple scattered candy bars, but they use that as an affront or as a
Oh, that was
front to get
disgraced
into an apartment.
propagandist.
Oh, yeah, 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 there you go. Yeah, where they're talking about how Africans or blacks would use the candy box selling as a way to gain entry into apartments and steal packages. That's
Yep.
100% real. That is totally real. And it's not
It's
outside the realm of possibility at all that this kid was doing something like that.
Yeah, I mean it's not it's just delusional to think that kids who grow up in shit situations don't don't do bad things, and the adults in those situations don't use kids because kids aren't going to get charged the same.
Exactly, exactly. And I think this is it's very likely that maybe this guy filming isn't a part of the crime ring per se, but I would almost be willing to bet that the kid is, honestly, where the kid goes to the playground alone. The parents explain the dynamic to him that, they can't get you in trouble because you're alone, whatever. I firmly believe that this kid is a part of something like that. I don't think.
Or it could just be a feral kid that doesn't know that you're not supposed to steal.
Right. I don't know which one is worse, actually. They're both horrible because one implies nature of degeneracy and one implies degeneracy informed by nurture. I don't know which one is worse. Um, so I guess we can go into Shiloh Hendrix herself. So this will get us some interesting
So she got up to 620.
So this is as of this morning.
Okay.
Shiloh Hendrix is now at 620,000, surpassing Carmelo Anthony by a firm 120,000. So Carmelo raised around 509,000. Shiloh is at 620,000. Um, I'll go after you. What's your general feeling when you
It's kind of
see
like
when
what
you see
you've been
this?
saying, like, it takes two to tango. Like, so for all the centrists who are trying to tone police and say it's wrong and condemn, this happens for a reason because things are pushing and pulling on a cultural level
Right.
where people are getting sick of shit. People are getting sick of things that people really are sick of the last 5 years. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, it goes back way further than that, but I think I think the boiling point was in 2020, and then
Yes.
some people slowly were like might have been altruistic and thought, oh, it's good, everything will be better, and then all of a sudden you realize it gets worse, it gets more tribal, it gets more narcissistic or ethno-narcissistic. Like
Exactly.
it's just one of those things where, and that's why I think the tone policing and condemning is dumb because it's only centered at one group.
Exactly.
And my stance kind of, and I know this is like a little bit cuckish, but I don't view the word as significantly worse than if you were to call a woman a bitch in an argument. Like
Agreed.
it's not a nice thing to say. I don't think you should
Yeah.
walk up to people and just say it, but
Right.
ha but there's a lot of nice, not so nice things people say. I don't think it's just bizarre to me that it gets put on this pedestal level of it's the absolute worst possible thing anyone can ever say.
It's the only word in the English language that you're not even allowed to use in a referential way. So if you're talking about in language warning, if you have kids, it's okay. Pause it, come back later. But if you're talking about the word fuck, right? You are allowed to use that in a referential way. You can say, he said the F word, and somebody says, wait, what F word? And you can say, he said fuck. And you can say the word. The N word is the end. Again, it proves my point that I don't want to say it because I don't want to get this video taken down. The N word is the only word where if you ask somebody what word are you talking about, they'll go the N word and won't say the word. There's a bizarre power around it, and I think black
But
people unconsciously
90% of
realize that.
modern pop culture music, because let's be real, rap is pop culture now.
Absolutely.
They say the variation of the word 1,000 times a day.
Right, right.
And that's
And
where and that's to me where it's so bizarre. And I know this is the most boomery, like tone deaf kind of thing to say, but or culturally tone deaf, but it really is like, which is it? Is it the worst word that can never be uttered? Or if you just change two letters at the end and replace it with an A, all of a sudden it's semi okay to say.
yeah, and I think the counter to that, and I have a counter to the counter. The counter would be, well, they're different words, man. Nigga and gur are different words. One means bro and one means I hate you. Here's the distinction I would make, or the counter to the counter. The reason that that's BS is because if a white person even says nigga, that person will be maligned as if they had said gur. So in the same, like I think I forgot who this happened to. I want to say it's the guy who owned Papa John's. I think
Yeah,
he
he
was
went on that rant.
well,
Well, did you
he was in a meeting saying we can't say nigga, and they treated it like he had said the hard R word. So to black people, it'll be weaponized the same way. So we're
did you ever
functionally
see
talking
the
about the same word.
did you ever see the clip of I think this was like 20 when did Mo Bamba get when did that Mo Bamba song come out?
That
29
would have,
that was like 2018, 2019, right?
yeah, it would have been 2018. It would have been early 2018.
It was I think it was a Clemson game. They had it playing on the loudspeaker. I don't know if it was Clemson, but some big Southern school. They had it playing on the speaker, and the whole SEC crowd was singing along, and they said "Barley" like my,
Like
and
my
they
yeah.
said it, and the black dude filming goes, what, like who,
Yeah.
who?"
Well, the thing is with those videos, it's so funny because the black person filming knows what's about to happen and they almost get excited. They revel in the moment when white people say it because they know that they're about to earn like more cultural currency if they can get that on video. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it's really sick and I don't like it. I don't like the idea that white people are it's weird imagery. Like the idea that white people are like these slaves who can't say the word. Did you say
it's
the word?
blasphemy.
Yeah, it's
Well, and the
there's a
crazy
religious
thing too
attachment.
is, look at the cultural hold rap has on, or hip hop rap, whatever people call it nowadays. Look at the
Hmm.
cult, like to me, that's just mainstream. Like, and that's the majority of people. I think the majority of people under 40, I think are, if you asked, I don't think it's like an 80-90% majority, but I would say 60% it's rap music. That's people's default music. And what word do they say all the time? So
Right.
you have millions and millions of white people out there who love rap music, but they can't even say a word that's said in 20% of every song.
Or I wouldn't even say, oh, yeah, yeah, you not 20% of songs, 20% of every
Of
song.
of each
Yeah,
song.
100%. Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
like the hook in most songs.
Oh, I don't know what that is. What is
No,
that?
I meant like it's a word said in the hook, and like
Oh, oh, yeah, in
the
the hook.
repeating parts are. I'm not a big
Exactly.
music person,
Oh, no, no, no. I know
so I
I
don't know
didn't
the
hear what you
proper
said.
terms, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I
it's
heard.
just,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
I get it.
that's where it's like really bizarre. I don't know. It's beyond bizarre that it has such a crazy taboo hold, but like you can drive around playing it, but you can't actually say it.
Yeah, and you said it correctly. There's a religious attachment to the word in a weird slavish way, and I
Well,
don't like it at
it's
all.
part to me. It's part of this idea that it goes with this modern belief that U.S. slavery was somehow so much worse than slavery
It was
anywhere else in the
uniquely
world.
it was uniquely evil. I would say the two, I mean, I'm not, this isn't groundbreaking. I didn't come up with this, but the two foundation myths of the United States are the Holocaust and slavery. And even if you get into, there's even a myth within the myth. So slavery and the Holocaust are the two it's the founding mythos of the United States. Within the slavery one, the founding mythos is the Emmett Till case, where if you whistling at a white woman got a boy lynched in the 50s. So it's really what that is a stand-in for is for race mixing. It's the idea that at one time you couldn't even whistle at a white woman and you would have been killed on sight. Not true. We can break down the Emmett Till thing a different day. But it's the idea that the worst thing that you can do is not allow people to race mix, and the worst thing you can do is be mean to a Jewish person, basically. Those are the two foundation myths in our country at this point. It's really
It
perverse, man.
yeah. Well, it's kind of it's just bizarre that things have come such a long way, but we have to defer like the people like to defer that stuff that happened in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And I don't even think this like 50s and 60s were as bad as people make them out to be. I
I
think
don't
a
believe
lot
that
of it
either.
turns in I think a lot of what we have is it's mythology where you tell that history was a certain way and oh, it was only 60 years ago that this was the case.
They were
And
they love saying that, and it's perfectly analogous to the Holocaust because that's exactly the lines. Those are the exact lines they use about the Holocaust.
it was
They
only
say
80
it
years
was
ago.
only 80 years ago. We're not far removed from it. They it's almost like black people have learned how to be Jewish in their own American way.
Well, there's always
Wow.
that tie with the
There's
civil
always the
rights movement.
tie-in.
And it really is interesting because it's just you have two events, American slavery and the Holocaust, and you're not allowed to say anything was worse, even if it's statistically a million times worse, more death, more
Nothing's on par.
brutality.
Nothing's on
Nothing,
par.
you're not allowed to say anything's on par with either one of those two. Because it's funny where I had a more old school, like the old school white guy history teacher who wore like the cowboy hat and kind of just knew the facts of everything and
Mhm.
told some good stories. I don't think he was being based per se. You never know. I don't know. He's a 50-50
You
case,
never
but
know. Yeah.
you never know. And he would like I remember learning early on where he just said like he did the whole preface by saying American slavery was bad. I'm not saying it wasn't, but in in the Caribbean, they just threw you on a sugar plantation, and they worked you to death in a year. You didn't have shelter. You were lucky if you got food. It's like almost like Ben Hur, where they throw you on the bottom of the boat and you're gonna row till you die.
I think this is I mean, black people will spontaneously combust if they hear this, but there was actually something uniquely Christian and passionate about North American slavery. I'll die on that hill.
Well, look at
Um,
those the example of the picture they love showing where the guy got whipped like 1,000
whipped,
times, and then like the
whipped,
action.
whipped Peter. Yep.
Yep.
The guy was not whipped by a white person. He was whipped by a black overseer because he got drunk, apparently, and tried to kill his wife. The plantation owner, the white guy, was on vacation. This is all confirmed. This is in the record books. I had somebody respond to me when I posted this. They said, I thought you were full of shit, but I looked this up and this is real. The black guy whipped Peter, the guy that we all know is sitting in the chair with all the lashings across his back. He tried to kill his wife while he got drunk, tried to shoot her, apparently. I don't know why he had a gun, tried to shoot his wife. The black overseer of the plantation, I think he was a Haitian actually, whipped the guy like brutally. When the white plantation owner got back, he was dismayed at what the black overseer had done and he fired him. And he gave the black whipped Peter like 2 months of like bed rest or something until he could work again. Obviously, I'm not endorsing slavery. I hate even having to do that, but I'm saying that's just a perfect example of what we've been lied to about.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Middle East and Africa.
They would
They
castrate people.
castrate you.
Right, right. That's why there
Like
aren't blacks in the Middle East.
I had so my one of my last semesters, I had to take a 300 level class, and I took just a generic African history. Why I took it, I have no clue. But the professor, she was your classic kind of frumpy, middle-aged white lady, but she was married to an African guy.
Of
And
course.
so she was talking about slavery in the other places, and she just nervously would like pivot to be like, well, actually, the chattel slavery in the U.S. was a lot worse because I don't even remember what
I
her
don't even
explanation was, but she did a real pivot just to kind of say, hey, actually, it was worse in the U.S. without really, but all the stuff she had talked about before with the Caribbean, Africa, other places,
right. There's
but it was so much worse.
I don't really even know. That's one that I'm not even familiar with what the counter talking point is. The idea that slavery was worse elsewhere. I think I heard somebody, I have a leftist friend of mine who I think when I addressed this with him and I said that there was nothing uniquely evil about the transatlantic slave trade. I think he said that the reason it was uniquely evil was because, and again, it's similar to God, you can't get past it. It's similar to the talking point they use about the Holocaust. They say that it was uniquely evil because it was systemic, and that it was the only. And
Their favorite made up word.
systemic. It was systemic, bro. It's like okay, define systemic for me. They can't do it. But I think the argument was that American slavery was evil was it was uniquely evil because it was inherently tied into like skin color, whereas other forms of slavery in the past were based on class, and this form of slavery was only based on skin color. I mean, that's stupid, but I don't even know. I don't even know if that's what the argument is anymore. There's not a really
And
good
I
argument.
mean, does that really make it worse versus getting castrated and worked to death? That's like the
Exactly.
thing. It's like they're just saying it's like the mystical spell in that they can't seem to shake the mind control that if you just talk about it in no pun intended a white and black lens, it
Yeah.
also feels like it's like this weird libs like to do this thing where it's like the vegan thing where we shouldn't eat meat because we have the morals to know better.
hmm
And they love doing that and they tie that into stuff from centuries ago. Like, oh, they should have thought about things in the way of a brainwashed person in 2023.
Yeah, exactly. Like what? Yeah. Why didn't somebody in 1619 understand that we're all born as a blank slate? It's like, because that's not reality, actually. That's a new invention. That is a new concept. The idea, and I don't mean equal in the eyes of God. I mean equal in terms of mental cognition, ability to rule. I don't think that in the 1600s they were like, this black man could marry my daughter. I don't think that I actually don't think that that's a good way of
It was
operating
almost
in the
like there was
world
just a better understanding of,
of
well,
nature.
realistically, a better understanding of nature and how it's kind of like we live in this ridiculous society now where we're supposed to assume that there's geniuses in rural Afghanistan, there's geniuses randomly hidden in the Congo. And
Hidden
it's like,
figures,
no,
hidden
but
figures, bro.
that was there was I think it was that Alex Noel. I can't say his name, but you know the Cato Institute guy that's like really gay for immigration and
Oh
like
yeah, 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 yeah.
he said something like, "Why shouldn't a genius in rural Afghanistan come over?" And someone else replied, "I don't think there's any geniuses in rural Afghanistan."
Exactly,
And
exactly,
it's
man.
just like it's people really are delusional and they have the movie brain
Exactly.
where they they just don't under like how the world actually is versus what they want it to be like because they've seen too many movies is there's just a giant disconnect.
Right, right. Yeah, it's total movie brain, and I you can't really even escape the extent to which Hollywood has played a role in this. Like when people hear slavery, they picture Django Unchained and a sadistic slaver, or a sadistic white person making his slaves fight it out. You
They
know what I
re-
mean?
and like there's no actual
There's
basis.
no, I looked that up. There is zero historical evidence for the idea
Like
that
I think 12 Years a Slave might be the
I,
closest, but I also think
and
but
even
that's
that,
just like ramping it up just I think Django took it to like an outrageous
a
extreme
hundred
with the
percent,
Hannibal Lecter mass and
a
like
hundred
all that
percent.
other stuff. Whereas I think
12
it's
years a
more
slave,
towards 12 Years a Slave, but
but
not
even
that's not
that,
to say that's not embellished and
even
amped
that
up
I
a
think
bit.
is a little overblown. But I think, yeah, I think 12 years a slave is probably a little closer because even we need to get into it too top. This is good. Um, Even in 12 years a slave, what the kernel of truth in 12 years a slave is that a competent black slave would have been respected basically in his own way. He would have been given some form of autonomy. If you had a genius black slave, they weren't just going to whip you for the
We'll
sake of
throw you in
whipping
the
you.
field. You'd
Yeah,
probably end up like Samuel Jackson's character in
exactly.
Django.
Yeah, that might have been the realest part was that Samuel L. Jackson's character could have really existed because he had like a slyness about him that like the white guy appreciated
Well, to go
actually.
back, it's funny. Speaking of Django, what's very interesting is that a lot of black people are still mad at Tarantino because they thought he took way too many liberties, making the
Mm,
no-no word so prominent in that movie. I think it was said, I don't remember the number, but it was something like extreme, and I know that's still a point of contention.
yeah, there's something based about I can't describe it. I know I might get hate for this, but like I feel like Tarantino is like secretly based. He's like been like curating this facade for years of like, hey guys, I can't be the bad guy. I'm your friend. Throws out N-word 300 times in 2 hours.
Like I've always
It's
said,
so
I
funny.
like, and so I won't dwell too much on, but I've always said that like I like Tarantino so much more than Spike Lee because Tarantino's the type of the person that like if you said something to him, like let's say you were in an elevator and you said something to him, like you said something like about a movie, he would just start arguing, and even if he's yelling at you, he would like at least treat you like a person.
Hmm.
Whereas like Spike Lee just has that stupid cross-eyed look, and he'd just like say nothing and walk away.
Right. Yeah,
And
there's
and it's
definitely,
funny because well, I don't know if Tarantino hates him, but Spike Lee hates Tarantino, and it's like
I've heard that.
that's because and it's like Spike Lee's kind of a talentless hack. That's
Yeah,
just my
there's
opinion.
the one movie I like of his is Do the Right Thing, but I think it's a well-made movie, but I agree with
It's
you.
a
There's like
well-made
this,
movie, but the message goes right over so many people's head.
right,
Because I
right.
actually said, funny enough, I was in a film class and we watched this. There was a discussion section to it, and in the discussion, I, I didn't say this in like a based way, but I said the irony of the movie is that every single person did the wrong thing. And they're like, well, that's not true. Actually, it was only the cops and the all the white characters who did the wrong thing.
No, they definitely did the wrong thing when they burned down the neighborhood Italian store because the guy wasn't even racist. And even if he were, that wouldn't be a justification. But the Italian guy who owned the pizza place, he liked the black girl. He liked her. He wasn't like inherently like bigoted. He wasn't like a blind racist or something. He was at
It's yeah, it's just
he served the black community.
oh man, we could do a movie review on that sometime.
Yeah, dude, we might need to add that to our repertoire movie reviews, man. I didn't know you were like kind of a film guy too.
I
Um,
actually almost did film instead of history because it would have been way easier. I
mm,
regret it because history was ultimately useless, and then like two-thirds of the way through the history degree, I started to just because it's every stereotype we joke about on Twitter of how insanely paused it all is.
mhm.
And like I just lost kind of interest halfway through where I just didn't love it anymore and didn't get any enjoyment. So it's just like, all right, I'm further enough in this. I'm just gonna get it. But I really wish I would have done film because I think I would have had more fun. It would have been equally as useless.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we kind of tapped into the bigger picture. We can probably zoom in a little bit. Um, so
But
I
I guess
think
to go back to the original point, it's all fatigue.
it is
Fatigue is ultimately what's driving this whole thing.
that's what I wanted to get into next. So let's look at this reaction video. The reason I chose this
So,
one is because I think it's basically how the black community is acting in general regarding Shiloh Hendrix. So let's look at what this intelligent person with a nose ring has to say. And yeah,
so you know about that Shiloh bitch, right? She was able to raise nearly half a mil
nope, 600
at the time
to
that I'm recording this anyway. Nearly half a mil. I
more.
probably made it worse for myself.
Oh, she's crying. Oh no.
I probably made it worse for myself by going to the actual page and looking up what people were the comments
That's so
they were leaving.
performative.
I know, I know. Yeah, let's just
And
pause it
again,
here.
what's hilarious about this is not even 2 weeks ago, we were talking about another give, send, go where the other side of the coin was saying he deserved to be stabbed. He shouldn't have told him to get out. Like, like, and this isn't to be one of those centrist cuck types, but
Hmm.
it's just kind of like turnabout's fair play.
Yeah, exactly. Um, I think that that is the prime takeaway. That's the main takeaway from this entire saga
I also would
is
not be
fatigue.
surprised if there were black people or leftist agitators who are willing to give $2-3 and just write something crazy just
I
to say,
believe
"Oh,
that.
look what they're saying."
I do believe that, and I don't even think that that is a. I don't think this is one of those. They're trying to divide us takes. I think that's more of an ethno-narcissist take of like trying to fake a hate crime in order to garner sympathy. I could definitely see that. Um, but yeah, the people are tired, man. That's really the big takeaway from the whole Shiloh Hendrix thing. People have had enough. I mean, I think you said earlier, you said that it for a lot of people it boiled over in 2020. I think if you even want to go a little bit further back, it really started this modern racial moment started with Trayvon Martin. If you want to go back a little further to 2012, I think that that's when it started for a lot of people, where it was like, why am I really supposed to rally because another criminal who I've seen a million times in my life got killed? It's not to say you want to see people killed, but it is to say, like, where are our priorities actually? And it was most prominent, it was most prescient when you juxtaposed the Carmelo Anthony and the Shiloh Hendrix case, like you just said. They had
And
no,
it's crazy because it's not even like this is like months apart, years apart. This is
no,
like almost the same calendar month.
exactly. And that's why I don't think, and you saw this, I've been saying this on Twitter, you cannot talk about the Shiloh Hendrix moment without talking about the Carmelo Anthony moment. There is nothing morally equivalent between saying a gamer word and murdering somebody. Now, black people can say until they're blue in the face, no pun intended, I guess, that the word carries violence with it. That's not possible. A word is not a person. A word cannot put violence on its back and walk it to you. That is not possible. That is modern leftist speak. That
Oh,
doesn't
it's
mean
almost
anything.
like I tell of like a lack of impulse control and kind of
Yeah,
mental immaturity that it's like you can't say that, otherwise I'm gonna freak out and attack you.
either what, yeah, otherwise I'm justified in murdering you, which is that's what the takeaway is. I think people are sick of it, man. I really think that you don't get this in a vacuum. You don't get white people spontaneously standing up for a girl saying that hard R without seeing a murderer raise $500,000 because he killed a white kid. You don't get
I
those
also
two.
think it I think that's a big tipping point. And I ultimately do think that's a lot more with like the online discourse, but I think if you want to spread it out to society as a whole,
Hmm.
I think, and especially, and you know this living in a major city, and I know this kind of living in a mid-major city, the drastic change you've seen since 2020 in dysfunction in cities is
Yeah,
it can't be swept under the rug. Even the most annoying libs in the city see it. They pretend they don't, but deep down they see it.
hmm,
They see the Ultima with no plates flying through a red light.
yep,
They see the kids hanging out in the bar district, robbing people, shootings. Like it's we can't go to Brady Street anymore because things get crazy. Oh, what does that mean? Well, they won't say what it means, but we know what
exactly.
it means. We
Yeah,
know it's one specific group does
yeah,
isn't really held in check by the police anymore. And I'm not talking about all FBAs. I'm talking about the kind that we've talked about this before, that you need the police to maintain this kind of order. And
yeah,
when they don't, you see that it's just one of those things where there is no self-policing.
right. Yeah, I mean, the problem is that there's a disconnect happening. There's a myth that we're told that, and again, this isn't groundbreaking, but it needs to be said. There's a myth that these people did nothing wrong. They are scientists and
Just like you and
astronauts.
I,
Yeah, they're
like
just like you and I. They
they're
just
just
live their
totally normal
lives.
people.
They just live their lives. They go to church like you and I. They hang out with their families. Actually, not even that. They're better than us. They are our moral superiors. They're probably smarter than us. And the only reason they're poor is because a white guy 70 years ago dropped an N-bomb on a black guy or something. When in
Yep.
reality, there is a disconnect because people can see with their own eyes. Um, I'm going to show you this story really quick. I don't know if you've heard of it. Um, this girl's name, this happened in Dallas a couple weeks ago. Her name was Ashley Long. So the story behind her is she was from Houston. She was going out with her friends in Uptown. It's like the party area of Dallas.
Is that by
Um,
like Deep Ellum?
yeah, exactly. It's like 10 minutes from
Okay.
Deep Ellum. Yeah, exactly. And it's actually considered like the nice party area. Deep Ellum is a little bit more like gritty partying, like yeah, I can't describe it, but like Uptown is where the SMU people go, basically.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like this
Yep,
girl,
no, that sums it up perfectly.
yeah, SMU people go to Uptown and non-college people kind of go to Deep Ellum. It just is what it is. Deep Ellum has a street that runs through it called Malcolm X Boulevard for context. There you go. Um, so this girl was in Uptown with her boyfriend. She walks past a car, a Mercedes with two black people in it, usual suspects. Her hand brushes against the car, apparently. The guy gets out and shoots her dead. She's dead now. She was a real estate agent from Houston. And, Long was visiting from Richmond, Rosenberg, which is Houston. But I don't know. According to an arrest warrant affidavit, they're shooting off Main Street. Police say, oh no, the guy with her. Police say a man Long was with reached out and brushed his hand along the passenger side of a passing Mercedes. The passenger of that car exited the Mercedes with a gun in his hand. And here we go. We
Hmm.
have this absolute scholar, great physiognomy here, by the way. Definite genius.
Pitbull physiognomy.
Yeah, yeah, exact. Pitbull, the closed in features around the nose, exactly. So yeah, that girl's dead now. And it wasn't even a situation where it's like, well, if you weren't around them, you wouldn't have had to deal with that. No, she was crossing a street and the guy brushed his hand across the passenger seat and now she's dead and he's shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's a big common occurrence that's happening. I mean, in cities all over where I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's almost like a dam broke in 2020 where things don't just get contained to bad neighborhoods anymore.
Right.
Where it's like I think you get a lot of the very, very ghetto crowd who they hang out in areas that I don't want to say they were white neighborhoods before, but they were safe areas to party.
They were
And
widely
now,
considered safe. Right.
yeah, they were considered safe. Or yet, like maybe you had some kids riding around on bikes at 2 a.m. mugging people. I mean, yeah, I'm not condoning that, but now
Right.
it's like you literally have people airing out street beef in areas that used to be considered reasonably safe.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it definitely spilled over in 2020, but it was almost a good thing because it's forcing people to come to the reality that like it is not just if we gave them iPads to study with at school, they just would stop committing crime. The black schools get an inordinate amount of funding now. Like
And it's an
there's no
insane
argument.
amount of money.
There's no argument anymore. It's the people. It's the people. Simply put, it's the people. It's not their circumstances. It's not the fact that they didn't have a four-bedroom, two-story house. It's not, and frankly, this will piss a lot of boomers off. It's not even the fact that daddy wasn't around. They love to blame fatherlessness because that allows them to blame a cultural side. The fatherlessness is a result of the genes, if we're being honest. What it takes in order to be a present father is it takes low time preference. You have to be thinking 18 years in the future about the child that you're investing resources in. If you do not have an IQ above, let's say, 85, future rewards do not have any bearing on you. You're just thinking, man, this kid costing me money. I'm out. Like that is not a result of slavery. That is not a result of low income housing. That is a result of the genes of the people, simply put. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's the harsh reality that I mean, and that's why people always love to kind of romanticize the 50s and 60s because
We were
it
talking
was the
about this.
same thing.
It was the
Just
same
and
thing.
it's so dumb because it's like it's the same thing, but you're just so enamored because they're wearing like
Like a
conservative
button
looking
like a
suits.
button down. Like
Yeah,
it's more like they're just in love with the time period and they're like, I like those pants that that black man has on. They must have
it's
been
like,
good
oh,
people.
he's not wearing ripped True Religions, a North
Exactly.
Face hoodie, and a
And a
shiesty.
shiesty, exactly. As long as you're not in a shiesty, that meant that times were good. It's like, no. Even in those base 50s pictures of the black guy standing on the stoop going, or whatever, even then the crime rate was out of control and out of wedlock birth rate was out of control. The only reason it doesn't resonate that way is because integration hadn't happened yet and there was really it wasn't bearing on the white people back then. It didn't matter if they were stealing from each other, frankly. Once you get integration is when you start to see, huh, man, maybe I was judging them. Maybe I actually was judging them by the content of their character the entire time,
You almost it's almost like you almost they almost don't want you to do that. You
Exactly.
have to. And like this is gonna sound very Matt Walsh like
He has some good takes every now
conning,
and then.
but
Every now and then.
it is really based on skin color rather than con. They don't want you to judge based on content of character because
Exactly.
they know what your judgment's gonna be.
Yeah, they know what the content of that character is, and it's surprisingly closer to Carmelo Anthony and Trayvon Martin than it is of a grainy 1945 picture of them playing stickball in the middle of the road or something. So yeah, they don't want you to judge by the content of their character because that would raise some uncomfortable questions. Um, I think we're I, I think we're about done actually. Do you want to touch on this really quick or do you need to go?
On I Funny enough about recording on Mondays, even on a chill day, I've had like three calls come in while we're recording.
Yeah, dude, we're good, man. We can go back and forth on Twitter
I
about
was
this.
gonna
I
say
think
we can pick this up kind of for next episode, I'm thinking.
yeah, suffice it to say this image is retarded
Oh
and
God.
no, Xi Jinping and Putin are not trying to divide you based on race. This is the most boomer take you can have. If you have this take, you're stupid. And simply put, you deserve to be lit on fire with the gasoline cans if you have this take. The idea that like the oligarchs are spending money to divide us. No, their behavior is dividing us, not Facebook, not Instagram, not Twitter. It is their behavior that is dividing us. So, no, it's not class based. It is race based. I'm sorry. So, I think that's
And
probably,
I got we'll let's bookmark it right here. I think on Friday or Saturday we'll pick up with that image.
yeah, let's do it, man. Yeah, all right. Well, thanks for joining me today, man. Again, if you guys want to follow SW on Twitter, it's at snowmed34. All of our links will be below, and thanks for the convo today, man.
No problem. I'll catch you later, man.
All right, later, bro. Have a good day, man.